The city of Charleston has just completed the state's largest ecological park to help alleviate flooding on Johns Island. It is the new Dale Morris Ecological Park, and it is using engineering. It's using wetlands to help ease floodwater during big storms, acting as a natural sponge. Live 5's Maya Brown has more on the park and the design doing the heavy lifting.
Wetlands are nature sponges absorbing water during heavy rainfall and storm surge. So when the city of Charleston saw a Johns Island neighborhood was experiencing excessive flooding for years, they decided to take matters into their own hands. They engineered their very own wetlands, now known as the Dale Morris Ecological Park. South Carolina's biggest wetlands flood project is now doing double duty. A park you can walk through and also built to hold stormwater when heavy rain hits. So streets aren't swallowed up and neighbors aren't cut off on Johns Island. City leaders say the new 19.4-acre park could ease flooding for more than 3,400 people.
It's a subdivision and neighborhood where you have, limited access points to, they're the main corridor of Maybank Highway, right? And when folks can't access their main access and emergency vehicles, people can't get out of their neighborhood. That leaves a real challenge for folks and a safety issue as well.
Named for the city's late chief resilience officer, the park is built to team up with Mother Nature. In a massive rainstorm, the park is designed so that flooding may last for hours instead of days. An important step in working with nature, not fighting it.
A lot of our development is in these really desirable areas where, there are still some patches of nature, forests and things like that, but it does impact our rivers and creeks and other wetlands that normally would handle that flooding.
And these new engineered wetlands will work like a built-in buffer, a nature-made safety net designed to catch stormwater before it causes trouble. Conservationists say it's a kind of nature-based solution that should be on the table more often.
We've done enough planning where we know what these solutions are, so it's putting ourselves in the best position that when we do have a flooding event or a hurricane, that we have the ability to recover and bounce back in a much more quicker way than we otherwise would.
For now, the city hopes this park becomes a model, proof that flood protection doesn't have to look like concrete. For Live 5 News, Maya Brown.